I've been studying with you for about 3.5 years, and a year and a half ago I sat before you, and it completely changed my life and turned my life around, and I can't thank you enough.
It is all about your asking and letting it in.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes, indeed.
I actually have 2 questions, and it's more just fine-tuning questions. One is actually about my cat. I have so much fun sort of breaking the rules, if you will. A year and a half.
Oh, really?
A year and a half ago, I told you, I don't know if you recall, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I only had 2 years to live, and I just refused all Western medicine and went into meditation and connecting with the inner being and healed myself in 8 months when all my doctors said that was impossible, and I kept going back for tests. No cancer to be found. They said it's not going to last. It's lasted. That was 6 years ago now. And so now that has become a lot of fun to me. Where I am now is
We would like to give you some different words. You didn't so much heal yourself as you allowed the well-being that was natural anyway.
Yes.
You stopped doing what you were doing that was not letting it in.
Yes, thank you.
Let's get it into very clear perspective here.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a cat that is 27 years old now, I'm told.
If we had time, we would give you the visual image that popped up all around this room.
She doesn't look that bad, honestly. She looks good, actually. And now I find myself, what is the exact words? I hate to say fighting the consciousness of aging, but I can't find better words to describe what I'm doing. It's interesting because on one of the tapes years ago, a doctor sat before you and said, why can't we grow new limbs when one has been, amputated? You said yes. Can't we raise from the dead? You said yes. He said, why not? You said no one believes it. Well, I believe it. I believe my cat can go on. I believe I can go on. And I guess I'm asking for assistance.
Well, you can, as long as this time-space reality is stimulating you with enough new ideas that you continue to summon. And as long as you're in the place of allowing what you are summoning, you will remain physically focused as long as you're wanting. And you can remain in the condition that you choose to remain.
Right.
In other words, the answer to that, yes, all of that is possible.
Right.
And we would encourage you to stretch the limits of it if you are desiring.
Yes, I am, very much so.
Yes.
Well, I was trained by the Essenes, and they were considered healers using the techniques of Jesus Christ, that teacher. And my question is sort of, in the healing work that I'm doing, I do believe that we're actually just kind of reflectors. We don't do any healing at all, honestly. We just, as you've said, we focus on what their intention is and what their desire is, and sometimes through our focus, the healie is healed.
As a healer, what your greatest advantage to the one who is reaching for well-being is that as you focus upon the well-being that you know they choose, you influence them, in some cases, to being more in the receiving mode than they might be without you.
Yes.
That is the total help of a healer. There is not anything more that is required or possible from you.
Exactly. But I'm curious because since I do believe that a physical being can go well into their 100s, that they can regrow a limb if they're choosing, why, even though I believe that, it's not showing up in my physical experience?
Well, it may be that more of your physical experience is wanting to aggravate you into a stronger wanting.
Okay.
In other words, your wanting may not be as clear or as pointed as you think, or you may have more resistance on the subject. It wouldn't surprise us if a little bit of both is present.
Right.
It's not easy to be part of your time-space reality and expect to be eternally in this body or even a long time in this body.
Right. I understand.
You live in a world that is very age-conscious, and it's not only that the world is age-conscious, it's that it is almost demanding of you to act your age.
Yeah.
And so when someone says to you, how old are you? Immediately they want to then begin to conjure all kinds of other things around you. The comedians are very adept at helping to paint images of all of that. And so many of you are influenced to that. And so it is the process of little by little releasing those images. If we were standing in your physical shoes and we were serious as you are about wanting to remain ageless in a body that is pleasing you and in a life experience that continues to please you, we would pick an age, any age that you have ever lived or that you might still be approaching. You get to choose the optimum age, and we would fixate on it and we would claim it for our own.
Great.
And in the same way that you might have an outdated address on your driver's license. Just accept that there is an incorrect birth date on your driver's license, and don't let it be any big thing. Let age be a non-issue.
Well, I always tell people that. Oh, that my driver's license is wrong. I'm not that old.
Well, what we're getting at here is that while there is fun around it, we do not feel that any of you are really believing that you are ageless or timeless.
Right.
And we are wanting you to know that you can be, because the source energy is responding to you. Your resiliency, everything about decline is about pinching off of energy. None of it is about moving through time. And the reason that it is so common that people tend to decline as they move through time is they pick up more things to worry about and more things to push against as they move through time.
Yes.
But it does not need to be that way.
Yes, I understand. And so my beliefs shifting in this way, am I influencing my cat, my own vortex? Is that influencing my cat for her?
Actually, the cat had the idea first. You picked it up second.
That's great. I love that. Just because another spiritualist told me this cat is your greatest teacher. And for some reason it resonated. You know, so
Well, think about it. The cat is not worried about death, so it is able to live. The cat is not caring what anyone thinks, and so it is always in a place of pure positive energy. The cat is listening to its own counsel. Have you noticed how little it listens to you? Yes.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, for example, we've talked a bit about the beasts, but the consciousness, meaning can a cat reincarnate into a human, or do they only stay in cat consciousness and continue to reincarnate as cats?
Well, here we really want to talk about this in a way that you will hear it easily, because there is a stream of energy. It sometimes gets a little uncomfortable, because what we're going to say next is going to make physical humans worry that they might not have some cat energy in them already. But the thing that we want you to realize it is all consciousness. And this consciousness sometimes focuses in human, sometimes focuses in cat, and all of it adds to the consciousness and the experience of the whole. And while it may surprise you, in other words, as you are in this physical body, you are a woman, you can be a mother, you can be a sister, you can be a lover, you can be a tennis champion, you can be an accountant, but you are rarely all of those things at the same time, where from your broader non-physical perspective, you are many things all at the same time.
Yes.
And so, yes, the consciousness that you know, here's an easier way to say it. Sometimes physical friends will have an animal that is particularly dear to them. And when the animal makes its transition into non-physical, they will want that same sweet spirit to join them again. And we say it always can. And it's easier for you to anticipate it coming forth in the cat, which reminds you of the cat that you've already achieved your relationship with. So you have something to do with the way that it manifests. But sometimes the reason that you have such an affinity to the animal to begin with is because some of the same energy that is you is within it. In other words, sometimes it is another aspect of you that is within that, just adding to the broadness of your experience. You hear us say, and it's easier for you to hear it, that you have soulmates among humans. But when we say you have soulmates among animals, it becomes a little worrisome to those of you who have been worried about that karmic wheel.
Oh.
Of course, there is not any of that.
Right.
It is consciousness that is expressing itself in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of perspectives, in order to give you all kinds of fun in bouncing off one another.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
The benefit of being a beast is that you reach your full maturity so fast, and so the energy that moves in and out of the beast has a very good time, because you can have a change of venue so easily, where when you commit to the energy of a human, it's a longer time of being living with someone else making the decisions for you than it is when you come forth into a chicken, for example, or a dog that reaches full maturity much quicker.
Right.
We're just stirring you up a little bit. It is great fun to feel the vibrational responses from some of this.
And also another question that we sort of came close to, and perhaps I didn't hear the answer, but you had said on one tape about before we become physical, you said we're not particularly sitting on a cloud with our feet dangling going, ooh, Malibu, that's where I'm going to go next. You said it's more, of course, the loving law of attraction. Now, before I was physical, I was pure positive energy, and what I was born into wouldn't be what I would call the most positive parents, to put it gently. So I'm wondering, if I'm pure positive energy, how did law of attraction guide me into some pretty harsh negativity? Do you understand?
Because in the wisdom that you held prior to your emergence, you knew that that environment would produce this you.
All right, I gotcha. Yeah.
And this you was so worth it.
Right, right. The other question I have is about my inner being. I'm having more and more and more and more fun communicating with the inner being. And I'm starting to get labels, which are fine with me. Humans have labels like clairaudient, where I can hear. When someone sits before me, it sometimes brings them, and I can communicate with their loved one. It brings them great joy. And I understand that there is the stream, and yet there is also a sort of leftover personality. And I'm hearing it because it's so specific. As someone's grandmother said, I always hated those yellow curtains in the kitchen, and the one in front of me burst into tears with joy because I could communicate that specifically with that personality. But I'm not sure what or where that personality is. I understand the stream.
Well, remember what we were talking about earlier, about how you can activate a thought? So imagine when a person has been in a physical body, in a physical community, surrounded by physical friends and family, there's a huge energy vortex that surrounds that.
Right.
And even though their consciousness withdraws and they become focused from the non-physical perspective, still that thought form still swirls around. So when you visit with someone who is aware of them, they are activating that thought form. And because you are tapped into the energy, now you are translating from both energy streams.
Yes, and that's exactly what it feels like. I understand. Thank you.
Yes.
You. The other question now is, you have said it is very good also to look around you to find out where your vibration is from time to time and what's physically manifesting. And where my vibration as far as creation, I seem to be missing the mark by like a half of an inch, meaning a few weeks ago, I was in Park City, Utah, and fell madly in love with the snow. I come back here, this is my hometown. Actually, my hometown was Glendora, California. I live here in Burbank now, and I asked you specifically on a Tuesday, I spoke with Abraham, you guys, and said, how about some snow here? Exactly a week later, the jet stream changed that was not forecasted, and then it was pulling Arctic air down, and it snowed. But it didn't snow where I live now. It snowed in my hometown. I missed it by that much. I was very specific about a new car that I wanted. I went to the dealership. I was doing all of the, procedures. I came out of the store, and that day, a woman almost hit me with the exact car. And so we had a lovely chat. She bought the car an hour ago, and we had a lovely chat. And then I drove home, and not the same car, but the exact model and color and everything was parked in my parking structure right next to me. I ran up to my neighbor, and my neighbor said, oh, those are friends. They're visiting from town. They're renting that car. Now, so it's so close. Do you see what I'm saying? And yet it's not fully in my experience.
Did you learn to ride the bicycle perfectly the first day you got on it?
No.
And so just keep adjusting your vibration and letting manifestation show you where it is, and adjust your vibration, let manifestation show you where it is. But we think what's tripping you up is that you are hung up on manifestation.
Yeah.
If you could be doing the virtual reality for the fun of the feeling that you're conjuring, and let the manifestation be less of an issue. In other words, that's one of the reasons you hear us say, in fact you repeated it to us even better than we say it, that it is a nice thing when you offer your vibration and you are aware that you are offering your vibration. But it is also a nice thing, in other words, that's what deliberate creation is, to focus deliberately. But it's also a nice thing to be aware after the fact that what you've created was in response to your vibration. And in either way, you can offer your vibration pre-manifestation, or you can adjust your vibration post-manifestation. And that's what we mean when we say you never get it done. You're always continually standing in a new place. And so in this case, you're saying, well, here I'm so close, and if the attitude is I'm close and it feels good and I'm going to get closer and there is nothing that I cannot be or do or have, all things are unfolding to me, I know I will never get it done, bring it on, this is great fun, then it just keeps unfolding in a very comfortable way. If your attitude is, where is it? I'm doing the right thing, I know I'm close, I missed it just this far, now you're checking out the manifestation is holding you back. So just look for things that please you everywhere you look, whether it's in your past, whether it's in your conjured future, or whether it's in the reality that you are living.